Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Megha Sharma. And on the eve of India's 78th year of independence, we bring you a special telecast. The story of the valor, courage and defiance of the Ahom Kingdom, which was settled in Brahmaputra Valley, who fought the wars against the Mughals not once but several times in the 17th century and were never once defeated or invaded or could not be invaded by the powerful Mughals. This image on your screen that you see is of Brahmaputra rock inscription, located at the Tezpur end of Kolia-Brahmora bridge across the Brahmaputra river in Assam. This, for the longest time, was said to be the only evidence of a historic military conflict in the northeast. In 1616, Sheikh Kazim Khan, the governor of Bengal, on the orders of the Mughal king Jahangir, sent a force of 10,000 troops, 300 war boats on the banks of the Brahmaputra. What he did not know was that an army of 30,000 men and 700 war elephants was ready to take them down. This was the army of Pratap Singha, the Ahom king. The Mughals lost thousands of men in the conflict, and according to the Baharistan-e-Gaibi, a Mughal chronicle of the history of Bengal, Bihar and Assam, there were 1,700 soldiers that were killed. There were 3,400 of them that were wounded. There were 3,000 who went into hiding in the jungles and 9,000 were taken captive. Only a few commanders were able to escape. Over the next 50 years, the Mughals attacked Ahoms 17 times and they faced defeat every single time. After consolidation of his power in Delhi, the new Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb sent Mir Jumla II, the Viceroy of Bengal, to invade Assam in 1662. Mir Jumla II attacked the north and the south banks of the river Brahmaputra and was able to occupy Gahargaon, the Ahom capital, by 17th of March the same year. King Jayadhav Singha had to retreat and continue his fight against the Mughals from Namrup while Mir Jumla occupied Gargaon. The Treaty of Ghilajariyag that was signed in January 1663 brought an end to the Mughal occupation of Gargaon, giving the Ahom king the tributary status. But what Mughals were so interested in the northeastern region? The answer is the Brahmaputra. It was one of the most fertile lands. Also, those who ruled Assam had the grip on the East Asia trade. And this is the reason why Mughals have attacked Ahom Kingdom repeatedly in the 17th century. The Mughal general Ram Singh was taken with subduing Ahom Kingdom of Assam, but it was successfully resisted by Ahoms. It is believed that the Thai people reached the Brahmaputra Valley in the early 8th century. The local indigenous people joined them over time. Sukapa, who was the leader of the Thai group, established the Ahom Kingdom in the 13th century. From them on, Ahoms ruled for 600 years in Assam. In the 16th and the 17th centuries, this small Ahom community expanded its rule dramatically, and over time, the size of the kingdom had effectively doubled. To help understand the glory of Ahoms in these battles, we have with us Nilutpal Gohain, who is the writer of the legend of Lachit Borphukan. Thank you so much for joining us, Nilutpal. And let's understand from you about what is it that allowed the Ahom Kingdom to defeat the Mughals, who was the most powerful, who had complete control of the northern part of the country back in the day, to face defeat after defeat from this small Ahom Kingdom of just a few thousands.
Okay. Thank you for having me here. Basic idea was, the terrain of Assam is a unique terrain. The river Brahmaputra runs across the whole state of Assam, and the banks are not even banks. There are hilly terrains, there are flat lands across the whole bank of the river. So every time when Ahoms tried to enter Assam, they were enticed to enter Assam through the river route. So that was the main reason, because the Mughals, they did not have a strong navy. So that was the reason they were enticed to enter Assam through the river. And it was like when someone is sitting at a higher terrain than the enemy, then it is easier to defeat that enemy. So that was the main tactic utilized by most of the Ahom generals, and especially Lachit Borphukan, while battling the Battle of Saraikot.
Okay. And like you said, you know, it is a very fertile land, the Brahmaputra Valley, and therefore the allure for emperors, for kings to come and take the land. So first of all, how did the migration of the Thais into Brahmaputra Valley in the 13th century actually happen?
It happened, there were two brothers. One of them was Sukafa. So Sukafa had a quarrel with his brother, and basically he was from the region of Maulung. Maulung is now situated in the country of Burma. So erstwhile Burma, now it's said Myanmar. So from Maulung, he traveled through the Patkai Hills. The Patkai Hills lie in the Arunachal Pradesh. So through the Patkai Hills, he traveled for 13 long years in the Patkai Hills, and then arrived at Khamjang. Khamjang is situated in the border of Arunachal and Assam.
Okay.
So when he arrived, he assimilated with the local tribes by the way of mutual bonds and then friendship. And these locals accepted Sukafa as their king. And they gave him the title of the unparalleled or the unconquered, that translated to the Ahom. And from Ahom, it is believed that the word Assam came. If you see Assam, it's like Assam. Assam is jo saman nahi hai, which is not flat. So that's why people believe that the word Assam came from Ahoms. When he arrived here, he was accepted by everyone, and he established his capital in 1253 AD in Charaidit, the first capital of the Ahoms. It was a petty state then, but later that petty state went on to rule this whole Brahmaputra Valley for 600 long years. So there were 41 kings total who ascended the throne, and among those 41 kings, everyone believed in the conception of utopia, that they wanted to build a state where everyone is happy and no one is an enemy, though there were exceptions, no doubt, but those 41 kings believed in the concept of utopia.
Okay. Talking about the attacks and the attempted invasions, the Ahom Empire also witnessed attacks from the Turks, from the Afghans. There had been, as you read the books, the histories of what happened in the past, this shield that had been very strongly created by the kingdom. Although being lesser in number, less powerful against the enemy, how were they able to better strategize?
There were very distinctive features of the Ahom army. The Ahoms were never an army. It was called a militia, because every person in that army knew how to fight, how to row a boat, how to fire a cannon. They were trained in everything. And there were a special batch of soldiers called the Chor Bachas. These Chor Bachas were the soldiers who did the guerrilla warfare. That means if the enemy is sleeping, they would stealthily enter the territory of the enemy, and then they'll create havoc in their tents. So that was one aspect of it. Secondly, the Ahom navy, as I said before, was very strong. So they used to entice all their enemies through the river route. And we know that the Mughal and the Turks did not have that strong a navy. So the navy, generally, the Ahoms could defeat these the naval, navy of the enemy. And one of the things which I'd like to highlight here is that the last battle of Saraighat, the Battle of Saraighat, there was a unique tactic utilized by Lachit Borphukan. So in a naval war, we all know that the ammunition, the supply of ammunition is very important. So at some point of time, for both the parties, the enemy as well as the Ahoms, the Mughals as well as the Ahoms, the ammunition was almost diminishing. So what tactic he utilized is that he lined the boats in such a way that they formed an impromptu bridge across the entire across the entire breadth of the Brahmaputra River. So in that way, the ammunition could come to the navy from the bank without any hassle. But there was no such arrangement for the Mughals, and that's why the Mughals could not face the bombardment from the Ahoms, and they had to retreat. So these are some of the unique war tactics they utilized during the attacks, and hence, I'd like to say that for the Mughals, their soldiers were either trained in one trade or the other. Either they were trained in cavalry or they were trained in elephantry or something like that. But for the Ahoms, it was not like that.
Okay.
Everyone knew how to fire the cannons, how to fight a war, how to row a boat. So that was the main, I'd say, edge the Ahoms had over the Mughals.
Okay, let's also talk about this celebrated man who was a warrior and who led armies to ensure that these invasions were scuttled at the very start, Lachit Borphukan Khan. Now, he was born on the 24th of November in 1622 at Charadio in Assam. Lachit Borphukan Khan was the youngest son of Momoy Tamuli Borbarua and Kunti Maran. Hailing from a royal family, Borphukan Khan was an army general and was primarily known for commanding the Ahom army and the victory in the Battle of Saraighat in 1671 that thwarted an invasion by the vastly superior Mughal forces under the command of Ram Singh. The Battle of Saraighat was a naval battle fought in 1671 between the Mughal Empire and the Ahom Kingdom on the Brahmaputra River at Saraighat, which is now in Guwahati in Assam. This was the decisive battle that ended the years-long Mughal siege of Guwahati, with the Ahoms pushing away the Mughals west beyond the Manas River. In commemoration of this leader's life and legacy, Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveiled a 125-foot bronze statue of him in Assam's Jorhat. The statue, called the Statue of Valour, was unveiled by the Prime Minister at the Lachit Borphukan Maidan Development Project at Holog Napur near Tiok. And to help understand the glory of Ahoms in these battles, we get back into our telecast Nilutpal. Now, Nilutpal, tell us about the army general of this battle that was fought, and why is Lachit Borphukan Khan's name etched in history?
Lachit Borphukan was the general of the army that fought the Battle of Saraighat. Now, before coming to Lachit, I'd say that when Lachit took over charge of the army, Ahom Kingdom was in dire straits. The frontiers were annexed by the Mughals, because just before Lachit taking over charge, Mir Jumla's invasion happened, and the frontier part, that is the Guwahati, from Koliabor to Guwahati, was annexed by the Ahoms. The Mughals. So during those days, as you said in your introduction, Jaidhar Singha was the king at that point of time, the Swargadev, as the Ahoms used to call the king. The Swargadev was very dejected, he was very disappointed, and he wanted to win the western frontier back. He wanted to especially win Guwahati back. So he chose Lachit to lead the army, and Lachit led the army, and he easily defeated the Mughals and took over Saraighat. But that was not the end. When Aurangzeb came to know about it, Aurangzeb chose Raja Ram Singh to lead an army into Assam and get back Guwahati again. So Ram Singh with an army of 50,000 soldiers, and then there were another 150,000 soldiers added to his cavalry by the governor from Bengal. He had a huge army, and he invaded Assam. But as I said before, the terrain of Assam, the enticement of the Mughal army through the river route, and as I said before, the decisive decision of Lachit Borphukan of lining up the boats and filling up the ammunition. Those were some of the tactics utilized by Lachit Borphukan toward the Mughal invasion. So it was like for the Assamese people, it was like saving the respect of the Assamese people. So every Assamese feels proud about Lachit Borphukan and his valor and his achievements. And whenever it's a I'd say we Assamese people, whenever we have to signify our valor or our pride, we would say Murgat Lasitot, as I said. That means I have Lachit's blood running in my veins. So that is the significance of Lachit Borphukan in Assam.
And how do you view when the Prime Minister gives emphasis on these heroes who have been forgotten in history? I do not know how many people in our country would even have heard about the Battle of Saraighat or heard about this hero. And do you think when such heroes are given the significance, when their statues are unveiled, when political leaders, when the head of the state is talking about him, lauding him for the kind of sacrifices that he made to allow for the kingdom to win against the Mughals, how can our country, how can our youth be able to better understand, know about what happened back in the 17th century to have allowed Assam to be safe and secure from the invasion of the foreign forces?
Yeah, I'd say that, it's very sad that the Ahom history was not part of the textbooks for a long, long time. We in Assam, we used to read the Ahom history, but for the textbooks that is there for the CBSE or ICSE boards, they don't have any Ahom history written in those textbooks. So it's very sad in the part of the earlier governments to not mention the history of Assam or the Ahoms. But recently, as you know, that it has been made a part of the textbook, so people have come to know about it. And secondly, the government of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, he has unveiled a statue, and our Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, he organized the 400th birth anniversary of Lachit Borphukan in a grand way in New Delhi. So it was a 3-long day program. There were numerous seminars. A documentary was also unveiled in that celebration. A coffee table book was released, and our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, as well as our Honorable Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, were part of the celebrations. It was a huge celebration in 2022. So as the current governments are taking care and doing much to let people know these long forgotten heroes, then I think the future is in good hands, and people would come to know about the valor and sacrifice of the heroes that were long been forgotten, and therefore there were valor and sacrifice to be recognized in the times to come.
Talking about Ahom's 600 years of legacy, which has contributed extensively in the Northeast. It has had a profound impact on Assam's history, on its culture, its development, and shaped the very fabric of what we know as Assam. For over 6 centuries, Ahoms not only defended their lands, but also laid foundations for political, cultural, and social identities. The Ahoms were not just warriors but also skilled administrators. One of their most significant contribution was the unification of the region. They brought together various ethnic groups under a centralized administration, which ensured efficient governance and resource management. But governance was not the only strength of the Ahom Kingdom. The Battle of Saraighat showed that good strategy was only something that the Ahoms were skilled at. While the Mughals may have had the military might, the Ahoms still managed to defeat the massive Mughal army with their clever diplomatic negotiations to buy time, their guerrilla tactics, their psychological warfare, military intelligence, and also tactfully exploiting the weakness of the Mughal forces, which was their navy. Therefore, proving that the military might was not all that was required to win a war. Ahoms did not just leave a mark on the battlefield, but also enriched cultural tapestry of northeast of India. They have promoted religious tolerance and cultural integration. Ahoms also played an important part in the literature and language with the historical chronicles known as the Buranjis. This provided a lot of insight into the region's rich history. In the field of agriculture, they introduced advanced agricultural techniques, including the irrigation systems, and these techniques are still used today. The Ahom influence can also be seen in festivals, music and dance, and even in the architecture in Assam. The Rangghar, one of Asia's oldest amphitheatres, stands as the symbol of their architectural ingenuity. To help us understand, joining me on the telecast once again is Nabarun Barua. He is an analyst from Guwahati. And Nabarun, thank you very much for joining us. And I want to understand from you, particularly giving us an insight into the cultural, architectural, religious and administrative skills that the Ahoms brought into Assam and how it continues to impact and bring about an evolution in the way people of Assam live their lives. Nilutpal, would you like to take that question while we figure out that audio problem with Nabarun?
Yeah, sure, definitely. The Ahom architecture was a very unique architecture, basically because Ahom utilized the bamboos and the canes very, very meticulously and very beautifully. Though the Ahom architecture does not have not survived in the recent years, but yet we have had documents which documented clearly, beautifully how the architecture was. It was a very scientific one. They used to have mirrors at various places placed in such angles that those mirrors used to reflect the lights inside the palaces and used to give a beautiful view of and light also inside the palace. Secondly, I'd also say that the Ahoms had various rooms in their palaces, such as the Borsora, where the king used to meet the general people, the Porusora, where he used to have his cabinets. Then there were separate quarters for the queens, separate quarters for the king, and various other rooms where the ammunitions were kept, where the food was prepared. All those were beautifully enumerated in the documents which we have. But unfortunately, as you know, Assam is a flood-prone area. Those structures couldn't survive. Yet we have some of the structures like the Ronghar, the Karanghar, that have survived the test of time, and they are still there for people to see. And I believe that the Archaeological Survey of India, the Society of India, has done a good job in preserving those monuments.
Okay. All right. Thank you for giving me and my viewers all that information. Nabarun, if you can hear us, and if you could shed light, what are your views on the Ahom community of the kingdom and the impact that it has had in the northeast region and Assam particularly?
So, hi. So, before I begin, I would like to actually tell you that right now I'm sitting on the Ahom naval forces against the Mughals. And this is from where I would like to begin, that the biggest contribution of the Ahom Empire is perhaps its absolutely fantastic naval military might that it exhibited in the Battle of Saraighat. Apart from that as well, this fact of history is well known, but what is not very well known is the fact that they were experts at guerrilla warfare. While we talk about, say, Marathas, for example, who were also experts at guerrilla warfare, or we talk about the Cholas and their naval might in reaching out to Southeast Asia, we forget that the Ahom Empire has also combined both guerrilla warfare tactics as well as the navy to defeat perhaps the Ahom Empire, the Mughal Empire at its very peak. The Ahoms also completely revolutionized the administrative structure of Assam. It brought about something known as the pike system. It structured the Assamese nobility into various pikes, which also made the last mile delivery of goods as well as defense in times of calamities extremely seamless. So these two are the biggest contributions of the empire. Apart from these, we can also see that in the recent times, as my previous speaker has talked about the monuments being preserved, I think in the very recent times, we have also taken up steps to preserve these histories. We have, in the very recent times, like for example, celebrated Lachit Borphukan's 400th anniversary. We have built a statue of him. We are also working on the government is also working on making a monument to commemorate Alaboy near Guwahati. So similarly, there have been landmark steps being taken to preserve the heritage as well as the military as well as the administrative acumen of the Ahom Empire and its great kings and warriors.
Thank you so much, Nabarun, for that very insightful, informative response that you have given me or insight. I'm out of time. I would have liked to have this conversation with you for a greater amount of time, but with the restrictions that we have. Thank you very much, Nabarun, and thank you very much, Nilutpal, for giving us an insight into the Ahom Kingdom and the story of valor that we intended to share with our viewers on the eve of the 78th Independence Day of our country. On that note, I slip into a short break. Thanks for watching NewsX.